Markets erased all of its gains seen in the last week, with the Nifty and Sensex ending with cuts of over 1%. Metals and banks were the worst performing indices. Pharma stocks outperformed. Hello and welcome to a fresh new edition of Taking Stock, the show where we look back at the week gone by, but more importantly, try and look at the week ahead. With me, as always, my colleague Surabhi Upadhyay. Hi, Surabhi.
Hi Prashant. Yes, indeed, consolidation simply continued and there's a bit of a logjam on the indices, it would appear. Well, we have it all covered over the next half an hour or so. You'll hear lots of views and voices. Today our fundamental guest is Pramod Gobi of Marcellus. We'll get chatting with him in a bit. And then Jay Bala of Cash the Chaos joins in on the technicals and how the market is poised at the moment. Lots of voices from the auto sector coming up. Bajaj Auto's Rakesh Sharma as well as Hemant Sikka of Mahindra & Mahindra. We will also get you economists' views on a lot of the macro data that's come out over the last couple of days. Sonal Verma of Nomura, Samiran Chakrabarti of Citi, and Soumyakanti Ghosh of SBI with their expectations on growth and the way the paradigm is shaping up. We'll also get you a lot of the market opinion that we gathered during the course of the week, and that includes voices like S. Narain of ICICI Pru, Ajay Srivastava of Dimensions, and N. Jayakumar of Prime Securities. But before that, just a quick rewind. Now, at the index level, as I said, it seems like a total logjam because the Nifty hasn't moved an inch. For the week, we're actually down just under 1% on that index, though you'd have to say that incremental news flow is still positive. Now, whether it was the auto sales data, what it told us was that at least sequentially there's a recovery as most of India has gotten into the unlock mode. Speaking of which, the other good news is that the COVID numbers, at least on a pan-India basis, are still largely flat. They're remaining stable. The Maharashtra is, of course, a watch point. The only issue with the market in terms of negative news was really the RBI flagging off concerns in its financial stability report, talking about the extent to which NPAs can rise this year because of COVID. And perhaps that was one thing along with others that weighed down on the banking side of the market because the Bank Nifty underperformed. The mid-cap party, however, continues. The mid-cap index is actually up about 0.5% in a week when the benchmarks have fallen. And speaking of mid-caps and individual stocks, it's probably best that we go across to Mangalam because he has all the stock-specific action of the week.
Well, it was a ho-hum sort of week for the frontline index, but beneath the surface, a lot moved. We had the Nifty Bank and the metals, which were erstwhile outperformers, underperforming for perhaps the second week in the row. And mid-cap index continued to outperform, as did the small-cap index. Pharmaceutical stocks, they were back in vogue this week, with the index up 3%. The top gainers on the Nifty, of course, belong to the pharmaceutical space, Divi's, Cipla, as well as Dr. Reddy's. But on the flip side, there were declines in the insurance space. Bajaj Finserv, HDFC Life was down by almost 5% as well. There was that big, large trade that took place on that counter this week, where Standard Life actually did sell. We did see a big move in a lot of these mid-cap names. IGL was up 10%, Apollo Hospitals up 9%, Granules was up 8.5% as well. And then we did see the big bite coming in from Zomato, Info Edge up 8.5%. On the flip side, losers were Vodafone Idea. Poor numbers coming in, poor balance sheet weakness, or auditors raising red flags as well. So 17% lower for that stock. Adani Enterprises down around 6.5% odd. We did see SAIL come down by about 5% this week too. But the biggest moves were reserved for some of the smallest names or the cash stocks. Sadbhav Infra up 33%. Happiest Minds, well, the investors definitely living this weekend with the happiest mind. 28% gains out there. Tata Elxsi up 17%. Sri Renuka, the sugar run continues, and Route Mobile was up by almost 24% odd as well. So a lot of the action for this week was reserved for beneath the surface.
Oh, absolutely. Nifty on the surface, as Mangalam pointed out, not very much, but the market is alive and how as far as broader markets, broader stocks go. This is the fourth week that the market has been in a range, so it's no longer, 1 week over the other week, up and up to the sky. I mean, the range broadly has been 15,500 to about 15,900, 4 weeks now. So about time that the market starts to make its next move. Will it is the question. Globally, I mean, result season is behind. We're going to look at the next result season, which is going to kick off shortly. So that will throw cues as always. But globally, we'll get some important cues on Friday. We'll get the jobs number for the month of June. I mean, if you do believe that, the dollar and the trajectory of the dollar is important, then you'd want to watch what the June jobs number comes in like. Consensus expects about 700,000 non-farm jobs to be added. The prior figure was 559,000. If there is a major surprise one way or the other, I mean, it opens up room for the dollar to move, and then consequently, we could be nudged one way or the other. By the way, Monday is a holiday, so US markets are observing the 4th of July holiday. So it's a holiday shortened week in the US. Here in India, the IPO frenzy continues, and July promises to be the biggest ever single month of fundraise via IPOs. I mean, I counted some 24,000 crores worth of issuances, which we will see. Will that mean that secondary markets probably remain a little lackluster, sideways? Possible. We'll present more data on that as we go forward, but not a whole lot of big sort of things lined up next week, which could move markets one way or the other. Pramod Gubbi is co-founder, Marcellus Investment Managers. He's with us. Pramod, thanks very much. Great to have you here. Let me start with that primary market question, Pramod. To your mind, 24,000 crores in a month. Zomato, of course, is the big one, almost 9,000 crores, a little more than that, actually. And interest is going to be super duper high in that name and many others as well. Some good quality paper. What's your view in terms of the impact it may have on secondary markets?
Well, I think the short-term impact could mean that there is some money reallocated towards primary issuances. But remember, primary issuances also attract a lot of financing. In some ways, that pulls in money that was not meant to be in the markets. But in the long run, I don't think there should be an issue. Long run, in fact, it is positive that it brings in a new set of businesses as opportunity for investors to invest in. In fact, some of the new businesses who are coming in are in different sectors, so it makes it far more interesting, particularly aligns investors' portfolios towards the changing trends in the underlying economy. So far, largely much of it was restricted to the private markets, so it is indeed a long-term positive that some of these companies and businesses which were hitherto unavailable to public market investors are now becoming part of the listed market. So if at all, we should take away positives from this record month of IPOs.
Okay, well, we will talk more about that. Let's move forward and look at some of the data that we got this week as well. And one important number was, of course, the auto sales one. And for most of the OEMs, the numbers were in line or actually slightly better than estimates. The stocks didn't run too much because that run-up had happened towards the end of June. So perhaps it was a bit of a sell-on news that played out. But Sonia is here to run us through the numbers. Sonia.
Oh yes, they do, and in fact the month of June has been much better than April and May combined. So if you look at large caps like Maruti, very good numbers. It's a 157% year-on-year growth and about a big jump on a month-on-month basis. They've sold 1.46 lakh units this month compared to about 46,000 units last month. So very good from Maruti. On Ashok Leyland as well, sales have doubled on a month-on-month basis, coming in at 6,448 units, much stronger than expected and up 169% year-on-year. Of course, you may say that year-on-year numbers may not be comparable, but even if you look at it on a month-on-month basis, a lot of sectors, whether it's tractors, two-wheelers, have done pretty well. Talking about two-wheelers, Bajaj Auto, which has been one of the biggest Nifty gainers, saw a very strong sales in the month of June. Total sales up by 24%, led largely by exports that have gone up 45% year-on-year. But there's been a bit of a disappointment because the company says that the container shortage issue globally is what has impacted their export sales a bit, although domestic sales are positive and they're pleasantly surprised with that. Apart from that, very strong sales coming in from Escorts as well. Total sales growth of 15.5% year-on-year and 95% on a month-on-month basis, and the management is very confident that this uptrend will continue. So good growth coming in across the sectors, but there are still a couple of things that could hinder the performance going forward. Higher fuel prices, higher vehicle prices, and a potential third wave is something that could dampen demand as we move along. Back to you.